In the legal community, as well in politics, it's mandatory to always put the public interest first. I'm sorry. It's mandatory. It's legally mandatory to put the public interest first, no matter who you work for. Big tech, big pharma, whatever. It's the public interest comes first. It comes first and foremost. And this is for every lawyer, and including judges. Every lawyer and judges are required by required to abide by the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct and report any violations. So we're going to do a quick thing on that. Okay, this is in the preamble. This is the legal profession's relative autonomy carries with it special responsibilities of self-government. The profession has a responsibility to ensure that its regulations are conceived in the public interest and not in furtherance of parochial or self-interest concerns of the bar. Every lawyer is responsible for observance of the rules of professional conduct. A lawyer should also aid in securing their observance by other lawyers. Neglect of these responsibilities compromises the independence of the profession and the public interest which it serves. All lawyers must serve the public interest. Okay, and a lot of that isn't happening. There's a lot when it comes to the rules and the codes. There's a lot of things that don't happen. Okay, so you want to take down crooked lawyers and judges. I keep telling people use the rules of the codes, and that's a lot of ammunition because nobody does that. No matter what court you're in, no matter what the case, state, federal, civil, child court, custody, criminal court, the rules and the codes are the common denominator in every court, So this is where, but okay, anyways, professional conduct complaint is a formal accusation for a lawyer that has violated the rules of professional responsibilities. These rules, often outlined by a state bar association or the American Bar Association, ABA, govern lawyers' behavior and aim to maintain ethical standards with the legal profession. If a client or another lawyer believes the lawyer has acted unethically, remember, violating the rules or the codes are also ethic violations. Unethically, they can file a complaint with the appropriate disciplinary bodies such as State's Disciplinary Council or Board. Key aspects of professional conduct complaints. Grounds for complaints. Complaints can arise from various actions or omissions by a lawyer, including but not limited to conflicts of interest, representing clients with conflicting interests, lack of diligence, failing to diligently pursue a client's case, also falls in line with a quick and speedy trial. Poor communication, failure to keep clients informed about their case. That happens all the time. Misconduct, violating rules against dishonesty, fraud, and serious misconduct. Okay, and remember, the rules and the codes, reporting misconduct is mandatory. Misconduct, violating the rules against dishonesty, fraud, and other serious misconduct. Harassment or discrimination, and engaging in conduct that harasses or discriminates against others based on certain protected characteristics. That means showing no bias or prejudice and, not playing favoritism. Failing to report misconduct. I told you, reporting misconduct is mandatory in both the rules and the codes. Failure to report misconduct is misconduct. And in reporting, well, we'll get to that later. Not reporting another lawyer's misconduct when required by the rules. Threatening disciplinary action, threatening to file disciplinary complaint or criminal charges to gain advantage is a civil matter. A filing complaint. Typically, the first step is contact the relevant state disciplinary council or board. They may have specific forms or procedures for filing a complaint. The Illinois Attorney Registration Disciplinary Commission is one example. The disciplinary body will investigate the complaint. If the complaint has merit, the lawyer may face disciplinary action such as a reprimand, suspension, or disbarment. And remember, violating the rules and the codes, that's violating your Sixth Amendment right to effective assistance of counsel. Okay, so if they violate it, they are in essence ineffective assistance of counsel, and violating that is violating the oath. And violating the oath, the penalties are fines, removal from public service, and incarceration. There's a lot you can learn about the things I post on legal reform. Investigation and resolutions. The disciplinary body will investigate the complaint. If the complaint has merit, okay, I already read that. Suspension and disbarment. Importance of professional conduct rules. These rules are crucial for maintaining public trust in the legal profession and ensuring lawyers uphold ethical obligations. Reporting professional misconduct. Lawyers have a duty to report another lawyer's misconduct if they know of violations. It raises a substantial question about the lawyer's fitness for office with certain expectations like confidentiality. Okay, Rule 8.4, misconduct. Lawyers are subject to discipline when they violate or attempt to violate the rules of professional conduct, knowingly assist or induce another to do so. Okay. Rule 8.3, reporting professional misconduct. A lawyer who knows that another lawyer has committed a violation of the rules of professional conduct that raises a substantial question as to the lawyer's integrity, etc. And I mean, you see it happen all the time. Okay. When Linwood and Sidney Powell and all those other lawyers filed in court about the Stop the Steal suits, and they all lost because they had nothing. They just went in there with thoughts and feelings, hopes and prayers, and Facebook or internet memes and people's feelings. And that's illegal. It's called a slap suit. But since it was on television, everybody was, but okay, that was misconduct. Reporting misconduct is mandatory. I mean, who did it? You have lawyers on both sides, Democrat, Republican. That's why I'm made political. I'm very into the Constitution. I'm very into the law. Just call it self-imposed ethics that I chose to live my life by. And I've been trying to make this happen, and this ain't happening. So it's up to you. I need your help, okay? That's why I'm showing you all this stuff. Actually, everybody's ignoring me. I feel like I'm on a blacklist, okay? But anyways, when you go over the rules of professional conduct, you'll be amazed, you'll be surprised, you'll be happy, you'll be angry. You'll have conflicting feelings because you'll see everything that's supposed to happen didn't happen. And remember, lawyers are also legally responsible to report the judges for any violations of the Code of Judicial Conduct. It's mandatory to report any violation of the rules or the codes by all lawyers and judges. Okay. And it happens daily. When I used to go to criminal court, I used to battle with the public defenders because they were telling people, here, sign this and you can leave. And that's instantly ineffective assistance of counsel. The preamble clearly states that they are to defend that person as if it was their very life on the line there. They need informed consent before they can go before the judge. And I mean, in order to get informed consent, their client has to have reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision. And it's in the rule. It would to communicate is one of the rules in the rule of professional conduct. So it'd be necessary for that public defender to communicate that, and they didn't. And the state's attorney, well, the state's attorney knew this is what the public defender's office do. So they don't report to public defenders because that makes it an easy win for the state's attorney. And the judge, for the most part, doesn't say anything. They know what's going on, that you're being deprived of your constitutional right to effective assistance of counsel. And that happened because the public defender got an aid and assist from the state's attorney's office and the judge. By the rules and the codes, it's required to report misconduct, so they are legally required to report themselves and each other for misconduct. The judge is supposed to report the lawyers as well as themselves for violating the codes, and the lawyers for violating the rules. The lawyers are supposed to report each other and the judge for violating the codes, and the other lawyer for violating the rules as well as themselves. So all in all, everybody's supposed to report each other. And that's like going to the Super Bowl and the other team doesn't show up. You win automatically, even if you were the Little Giants. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. But it's an old school movie. But, you could set a Pop Warner Football League team in there and they'd still win simply because the other team cheated and got disqualified and went to jail. All of them because they conspired to deprive you of your rights under the color of law. You thought it was legal because of what they did, but that's because you didn't have the reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision. Okay, so it just looked legal because it happened in court. You just didn't know what was going on. That's the term, the color of law. They conspired to deprive you of those rights. The legal term is a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. Okay, so let's go here. Okay. File a conspiracy against rights complaint under the color of law. You would typically have to file a civil rights complaint with the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. The FBI investigates these types of crime, and the U.S. Attorney's Office handles prosecutions. You can also submit a complaint online by mail or fax. Filing a complaint online, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division has an online form for reporting civil rights violations. If you prefer not to use the online form, you can download a fileable PDF complaint form completed and then email, fax, or mail it to the Civil Rights Division according to Homeland Security. FBI contact. You can also contact your local FBI office to report the incident. I did that years ago. I've been slamming these people with laws for years. I'm just showing you what I've been doing, okay? All right, and I need you to do it too, so that way, DOJ, Department of Government Efficiency, it's not what you think it is. If you know what the right to work is, you'll know how this is working. Okay, so you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to get in there and make the government do their job, because they're not going to do it. They know it's happening. I'm showing you everybody, and they got places to file and complaints to file, but they're not going to stop this unless you tell them, hey, I know what you're doing. Stop it. Lock everybody up. Okay. Key information for complaints, clear and detailed accounts, provide step-by-step description of the events, including dates, times, and locations. And I've talked to a lot of you, and I've watched you online, seen your videos. See, you got this stuff. You're just not, I'm just trying to show you how to get some help from, your public servants. You need to stop the other public servants from biting your hand. So you're going to use these public servants to stop them and put a muzzle on them, a leash, one of those spike collars where if they try to do something, you just pull on that leash and it stabs them in the neck, Or you could put one of those electric collars on them, And if they get out of line, you just zap them, Instead of tasing them, just a collar that's on their neck, and you push a button, and that'd be, specific actions for defense. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh, but this is ridiculous. It is. So what we're dealing with, you're all dealing with, is you're living under the color of law. What you're dealing with, what's going on now, the constitutional crisis is a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. That's illegal. The privation of rights, that's illegal. But I'm just showing you. Okay, file a complaint. Okay, let's go here to... A complaint about the deprivation of rights specifically under the color of law can be filed with the FBI, the Department of Justice, or through the U.S. courts. And if the complaint involves state or local authorities, it can be filed under 42 U.S.C. 1983 for federal officials. And a Bivens action may be appropriate. Elaboration: the federal law allows individuals to sue state, local, or officials for violating their constitutional right or federal statute rights. Okay, so you see a lot of stuff that's going on. They're saying it's unconstitutional. They're calling it a constitutional crisis. Well, they're breaking the law, okay? They're violating the oath for one thing. You can't take the oath to the Constitution and then not do that. Kick it to the curb. No, you can't do that. That's breaking the law. I already showed you that. Violating the oath is mandatory fines, removal from public office, and incarceration. Pretty simple to remember, isn't it? Federal law allows individuals to sue state or local officials for violating their constitutional rights. Some of these states I was watching throughout the elections, where all these voter restrictions and closing down polling places. Number one, that wasn't in the public interest, and they're legally required to do what's in the public interest. And number two, or I should say number 1.1, any law repugnant to the United States Constitution is null and void, can't be enforced. Okay, so just things people aren't talking to you about, okay? And that you could file, you could sue. Right now, they're trying to take away your right to vote, your right to protest. There's a lot of rights that, that people are talking about that you can't have anymore. They want to take them away. Birthright citizenship. Seriously? You know, ending Roe versus Wade, that was in parochial interest, and it was in the interest of the bar because they were paid money by the Christians to do that by injecting their religion into your life. Hey, listen, I'm Christian, I'm Catholic, but I'm pro-choice, and seeing some of these stories about what these women are going through, leave it up to them and their doctors. Simple as that. Okay. Let God judge them. The FBI investigates civil rights violations, including those involving deprivation of rights under the color of law, which I keep telling you. And no matter what court you go in, nobody's playing by the rules or the codes. That effective assistance to counsel, that's a double-edged sword. That cuts every which way in a court of law, in every court of law, because the contents of that are the rules and the codes. Okay, if that isn't happening, that's not only showing ineffective assistance of counsel, but that's showing the ineffectiveness of the court itself. Okay, so it's pretty easy. I mean, to me, but you got to go through a lot of stuff to understand what I'm talking about. Department of Justice, filing complaint, color of law. This legal term refers to actions taken under the authority of law, statute, or other legal instrument, even if the action is unlawful or unauthorized. Like what's going on now. The executive branch is overstepping its bounds and trying to take over the judiciary, and saying, "Oh, you don't have a right to tell us what to do." No. Constitution requires a separation of powers. You thinking that you can consolidate that to the executive powers. No. That's decimating, desecrating, and defecating on the U.S. Constitution. Okay? I don't like that. I'm pro-Constitution. People conceding to that, saying, "Okay, let's do that." They're surrendering their oath to we the people and showing loyalty, not just to Trump, but to Wall Street, the elite. They are legally required to do what's in the public interest. So it's not just about politics, it's about the law. And I mean, if the Democrat Party was really going to do anything, don't you think they would be telling you instead of me? But I'm apolitical. I watch over any of them and all of them and tell you about who's breaking the law, okay? Deprivation of rights. That refers to the violation of an individual's constitutional right or protective rights under the law. It's illegal. It's illegal. I'm showing you. Who's going to jail for that, huh? Who's going to jail for that? Deprivation Department of Justice. Makes it a crime for a person acting under a color of law to willfully deprive a person of a right or privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. People, that's so hard to understand. Nothing but love for you. And this is me showing you my love, It took me a long time, to gather up all this information. It was before, I had access or knowledge of how to use a computer. And I just want to share it, Knowledge not shared is wasted. Okay. I'm just going to make this short as possible. And I'm not laughing at you. I mean, if you were to actually ever... And when it comes to the law, to a court of law, the only way you're ever going to get this effective assistance of counsel, the only way you're ever going to get a fair trial, the only way you're ever going to see due process is by obtaining that reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision, to give informed consent. And the only way you'll be able to do that, the only way you'll be able to compete with all those lawyers and judges, obtain the legal knowledge, the same of those that oppose you in court. Whether you hire them or the court appoints them, if they're not explaining this to you, it's clearly a deprivation of rights. Under the color of law, my friends, okay. I hope I made this short enough and sweet enough for you to tempt you to start looking these things up, I have my page at Legal Reform on Facebook. It's also on TikTok, YouTube, Threads, Instagram, wherever I can. The only thing you spend at Legal Reform is time. No money. You don't get asked to join, and no sign-ups, and I don't even sell merch. All I do is talk to you. All I do is talk to you, okay? But that's what legal reform is about. Teaching what you need to know. We don't need another civil war. All we have to do is what the forefathers started. And be true to what they put on paper. The letter of the law requires all this be done word for word to the letter. Don't ever let anybody tell you, don't believe your eyes, believe me. And I ain't even trying that myself. I'd never ask you to believe me. All I'm asking is you believe your eyes. All right? May the Creator rain many blessings. May you have a long life and good health. God bless.